I'm about to tell you about the weirdest reoccurring fever dream I had throughout my entire childhood. If you ever grew up watching weird puppet kids TV shows in the late 2000s, early 2010s, you might know about this little show called In the Night Garden. This was a British children's TV show that aired around 2007 up until around 2009. And one of the channels it aired on was my childhood TV channel called Treehouse. Comment down below if you want me to talk more about other weird shows that I grew up watching on Treehouse. Canadian Kids TV was kind of weird. I've actually showed this show on stream a few times because I was so intrigued if anyone had actually seen this. And when I showed people, they were made so uncomfortable that they begged me to take it off the screen. I actually looked into this, and in the wiki it said that In the Night Garden was airing around 7:30 p.m. on my channel Treehouse, which would make sense because as a kid, my bedtime would be around 8. So me watching this now as an adult, it seems like just a really creepy mascot show. But when I was a child, this creepy show put me to sleep. So this show's premise was kind of all over the place. It's kind of hard to describe what the premise is if there even was a premise. The show followed a handful of characters that all had weird names and they all didn't speak words. The crew was apparently, I didn't know this, but they are CGI characters with names such as Iggle Piggle, Upsy Daisy, and Macca Packa. Actually, in my research in this, I found out that the guy who made this was a co-creator of the Teletubbies, which makes so much sense now because the Teletubbies was weird and this show was weird. The show would often start like this. Iggle Piggle, the main character, who is blue and walks like a baby and holds a blanket, goes to this place called the Night Garden. And there he finds his best friend, Upsy Daisy. She was a doll. And they would go around and walk, and there were no words to this. So they were just walking while the narrator would just say things in the background. And throughout their journey, they would see some other characters like the Toombaloo. The Toombaloo are the three triplets, we'll say that, and they had the names Oon, Oo, and E. And I think they danced every now and then, but there wasn't any sound, I think, so they were just like moving. This was a weird show that I grew up watching. They would also come across this guy, my favorite character, Macca Packa. My guy, Macca Packa, he had rocks and a sponge, and he stacked the rocks, and he had a scooter. I'm actually reciting a lot of this from memory, so if I'm wrong, I'll edit it somewhere. There were also the Pontypines, which were a little family. They were a little doll family. And they would always be in a line because they were family. I remember as a kid, I had a genuine dream about being inside of the Ninky Nonk because when you're a kid, that's what you think of, right? And at the end of the show, they would all go into their designated places. Iggle Piggle would drop off Macca Packa into his cave, and the Toomballoos would go into their thing, and then Upsy Daisy would go and sleep in her bed. And then Iggle Piggle would be all on his own. He would leave the once bustling night garden with all of its props, whatever it was, would turn off and it would fade to black. And that was the average episode of In the Night Garden, a show that I watched. Every now and then, I think about this show. I think about this show a bit more than I should be. And now that I'm making this video, I'm starting to think about the implications of that show on my little child brain. I don't know if it was the same as maybe what would happen to a kid's brain after watching years of SpongeBob, but I don't know if it would be any different. Something about there being very little text and very little speech in terms of communication between them. They would just like make baby noises while the narrator would talk actual words. Is there any negative effect to that? Just little kids hearing baby talk? Even today, I'm still not that convinced that this was real. A part of me is still trying to grasp the fact that I watched this a lot when I was younger, the fact that I can still remember it today, and the fact that there was never really a plot. It was always just these characters meeting each other and then leaving. But at the same time, I also understand why this was played to children, especially later in the night. I'd say the narrator was pretty calming in his narration. There weren't any very loud sound effects. It wasn't fast paced or anything. It was very slow paced. It would be very slow paced. It would just be Iggle Piggle walking through the garden. The only thing is that looking at it is terrifying. The way that they're made, the way Macapaka's eyes are just like that, it's kind of scary. Now that I'm older and I'm looking back at it, it kind of made me think about iPad kids, which I might make a video on later, but I'm thinking about. And maybe if younger kids were exposed to this slow paced content, maybe they'd have better attention spans, and maybe it would fix all of this bad stuff going on with iPad kids. Because if you think about it, a lot of the content now is so fast paced, and all the kids, they need constant stimulation to their content brains because they're so addicted to the content being so pow pow pow. But if they watched something that slowed their brains down and purposefully paced themselves in a way where they had to watch Iggle Piggle take his little steps to meet Upsy Daisy, then maybe it'll cure the content brain. Anyways, this was just a really quick video kind of talking about this show that honestly terrified me growing up, but at the same time, I was really, really engrossed in. So in the comments, just let me know if you've watched this or if you have another kind of show that you watched growing up that was weird. Feel free to tell me about it. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Leave a like, subscribe. I'd appreciate it. I'm trying to improve my content every day. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again. Bye.